Hawks lays an egg by Butterfly Apocalypse on AO3. Episode 23. Chapter 8. He quickly sat up to see Omelette had made progress. He was kicking out with both legs, pushing the bottom half of the shell away. It wasn't broken enough to fall away yet, but they could clearly see their baby from the hips down. "We were right! He's a boy!" Hawks cheered. Dabi's head spun. He had a son. He had a son! Every time he thought he'd come to terms with the reality of it, something else happened to make it feel impossibly more real. "I didn't think we'd get credit for guessing right. It was a 50-50 shot." Dabi snorted. "Not necessarily," Hawk said. "He could have been intersex, and he still yet might be trans." "Exactly," Dabi said. "So don't count your eggs before they hatch? Or, I guess, don't pat yourself on the back for guessing your egg's sex before it hatched." "My bad," Hawk said with an eye roll. Even so, he was grinning ear to ear. "We have a son." "I almost can't believe it." Dabi grinned too. Hawks leaned over to the side of the bathtub. Hi, baby boy," he cooed. To Dabi, he said, "We need to name him." Dabi was surprised. "You didn't decide on a name while I was gone?" Hawk scratched the back of his head. "I kinda wanted you to be there for the decision. It just didn't feel right." "You're still not attached to Hotaru, are you?" Dabi asked. "Because I didn't want to tell you earlier, but I'll tell you now. Shigaraki suggested that name, and if we chose it, he was going to be unbearably smug bastard." Hawks laughed. "So that's why you're so against it. But no, I think it's too robust for him. I mean, look at those tiny feet. I feel like he needs something more delicate." "His feet are tiny because he's a baby," Dabi said. "And I have no idea what you mean by robust and delicate, but as long as you're fine with not using Hotaru, I'll agree with you." Hawk snorted. "So what do you want to use?" Dabi shrugged. "There was a couple good ones. Like Aktari or Hakatar, since you said you wanted it to start with H. But I think my favorite is still Hotaru." "Hotaru?" Hawks repeated. "It has a nice ring to it." He got a mischievous look on his face. "But what about our first idea? He could still be Tamako." "He's not going to be an egg for much longer," Dabi pointed out. "Yeah, but it wouldn't mean egg. And he will have always hatched from an egg," Hawks countered. "Yeah, well, I was born from a uterus, and I would hate my parents more than I already do if they named me Shiru, no matter what kanji they used." Dabi shook his head. Hawks pouted. "Naruto was named after fish cake." "Yeah, and Naruto is a whiny bitch-ass loser," Dabi said firmly. "And he's a bad dad." Hawks gasped in offense. "You take that back. Naruto is passionate and determined. And why are you watching Boruto?" "We're not naming our son Tamago." Hawks blew a raspberry. "Are you gonna offer any actual input? Or are we putting Hotaru on the birth announcement?" Dabi asked. "Oh, yeah, we're using my last name for him," Hawks demanded. "Good, because we're sure as hell not using mine," Dabi said. "Why?" "What is it?" Hawks asked. Dabi scoffed. "Nice try." "No, tell me," Hawks whined. "Fine," Dabi said. "Really?" Hawks said hopefully. "Yeah." Dabi leaned forward to whisper in Hawks' ear. It's... He let his voice go inaudible. "I didn't hear that," Hawks whispered back. It's Dabi whispered again. None of your business. Hawks smacked his shoulder, and Dabi rolled away laughing. You really thought, he crackled. Hawks pouted. You are a jerk. Don't act so surprised, Birdie. You know what you were signing up for. Yeah, Hawks said. I did. He looked at Dabi fondly. It made Dabi's face heat up and his cheeks feel funky, and was overall not fair. Hawks was exploiting his weaknesses. Dabi cleared his throat in embarrassment. Shut up. Never, Hawks said. Anyways, I have more name ideas, so it's gotta be something that goes with Tamaki, right? So maybe not something that ends with E? That's not an idea, that's just shutting down mine, Dabi sputtered. But Hatori Tamaki doesn't sound good, Hawk said. It's too E. Dabi made a face. He hated to agree with Hawks' dumb reasoning, but in Hawks' dumb words, it was too E. He was disappointed, though. He had come up with Hatori himself, and he was proud of how concise it combined him and Hawks in fire and bird. But if they weren't going to use that idea, he could always bring up using his own toe. Before he could work up the nerve, it was really embarrassing and intimidating. Hawks continued. I've always liked the name Haruto. Hawks said. I once named a squirrel Haruto. Dabi commented. He stole my fries and got caught in my staples. Hawks blinked. Maybe not then. They went back and forth on variety of names, so many different variations of fire and bird. More on the bird, courtesy of Hawks. Suzuku would be such a good name, though, he argued. It's cool. Aren't you the one concerned about its sounding and feeling of the name? Isn't that one too robust or whatever? Dabi said. It's noble, Hawks chuckled. But you're right, it doesn't have a heavy feel to it. Hours tricked by as Omelette chipped away at his shell slowly, with his tiny baby kicks. Hawks took a break to get coffee for himself, and Dabi. But even with the pick-me-up, they were starting to get loopy. How about Tamaki? Hawks laughed. It's perfect. Thank you. I try, said Dabi. But what about My Chemical Romance Tamaki? No. 8 through 12 Tamaki. Firebird Tamaki. Hawks doubled over in laughter at that. It felt good to make him laugh. They fell into a pensive silence, Hawk leaning over the tub to tickle one of Omelette's feet, now free of its confines. He grinned when the foot twitched. I just want to give him a good name, Hawk sighed. One that won't make him hate us. You hate your name? Dabi asked. It's not that, Hawk said. Did you have a name you wished you had? I guess I wish my last name were different, Dabi said. No, I mean, never mind, Hawk said. I used to want to be named Sora. Sora? Dabi repeated. Like sky. That was actually nice. He liked the meaning. He loved all the colors of the sky. He liked how vast it was. And Sora sounded good. Yeah, like the sky, Hawks agreed. Under his breath, he murmured. Not like the video game character. What? What? Hawks blinked at him innocently. Whatever. Sora Tamaki. Dabi tried. It was really nice. It didn't leave room for him to give Omelette the character from his name, but he supposed it might be better that Omelette not be burdened with his past. A loud crack caught both their attention. Omelette's shell had separated completely in two, and he was wiggling out. Hawks clapped a hand over his mouth. Despite his exhaustion, Dabi's completely awake. His world narrowed down to the tiny scribbling hands pushing, uncoordinated, against the shell. He watched transfixed as, from the egg, the tiniest baby emerged, and he was perfect. Dabi's world stopped, and nothing else mattered. How could anything else matter when his baby, his baby, his baby, was in front of him? He was so small, so delicate, so innocent, and he was here. His small fingers on his precious hands were curled into loose fists next to his face. His hair was damped and matted to his head. His eyes were screwed shut, giving him the tiniest pout. There was nothing Dabi wouldn't do for him. He swore right then he would never feel anything like this. Nothing else compared. It was earth-shattering. It was primal. It was terrifying. Dabi had only recently learned love, and even as significant as it had been, it was trivial compared to this, whatever this was. Could this be love too? Could love feel so big? Like a mix of every emotion he'd ever known, and far too big to contain by the entire universe? This had to be beyond love, because this was everything. His son. His son, his son, his son, convulsed and coughed up some clear fluid. Omelette drew a small breath, and it was like he came to life, like the world suddenly got put in high resolution. His squirming against the towel he was on, and bursting into tears. Hawks quickly jolted him. Dabi couldn't cry tears. His eyes burned, and his throat felt tight. "Hi, baby." Hawks stopped. "Welcome to the world." He lifted Omelette out of the tub with the utmost care. "Take your shirt off," Dabi choked out. "Huh?" Dabi managed, through his blubbering. "Skin to skin," Dabi said. He was only surprised he could find his words. "Right," Hawks cried. He handed Omelette to Dabi, and then Dabi was holding Omelette. He was holding his baby. Screw the fact that he didn't have tear ducts. Dabi was pretty sure he was going to cry anyways. He held Omelette's head in one of his hands. It was so small, it fit, and supported his body with his other arm. He was warm and soft and kinda slimy and still screaming, but perfect. So perfect. All of human evolution had led to this point, to creating a baby so perfect. Everyone else could stop having babies now. There was no point now that the best baby in the world existed. Omelette wins. "Okay," Hawk said, now slightly calmer and shirtless. He held his arms out. "I can take him back now." Dabi felt incredibly reluctant to relinquish his son, but he knew that he needed skin to skin. He was probably going to get cold since he was still damp, even with the heat of Hawks's chest. Dabi dug through and found the softest towel to gently dry Omelette with. At the contact, Omelette's cries quieted. Dabi had never felt more powerful in his life. "I love you, Omelette," he said. Hawks began bawling again. "I love you too, baby." Hawk sniffled, glazing at the lump in his arms. To Dabi he said, "Do you want to make him some formula? I've got some out. It should be in the kitchen." Dabi didn't really want to leave, but he was a father. He had to provide food for his child. "I'll be right back," he said, voice tight. As soon as he was out of the bathroom, he had to pause to deal with the existential threat to burst out of him. He punched the air in victory, grinning so hard. He was sure he was going to pop a suture. In his head, he sang, "We are the champions, my friend." He felt high from how happy he was, but he had a duty. Omelette was counting on him. Making formula was something the mommy blogs had prepared him very well for. He couldn't use his wrist to test the temperature because of his scars, so he needed to use the back of his hand and make sure it was on the cooler side. Hawks was sitting on the bed when he returned, holding Omelette wrapped in a towel against his chest. "Are those my clothes?" Dabi asked, inclined to the pile on the bed. Several feathers quickly swept all the clothes off the bed and out of sight. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Hawk said. "Your turn. Take your shirt off." "What? Am I Feeding him? Dabi asked. Hawks crocked an eyebrow. Don't you want to? Yeah. He pulled his shirt over his head and tossed it off to the side. Omelette whined when Hawks pulled him away from his chest to hand to Dabi, but he soon settled in again. Dabi thought he reached his maximum love for Omelette, but he was proven wrong once again. From where he was nestled against his chest, Omelette looked up at him with huge, unfocused, blue eyes. His blue. As cliché as it was, Dabi was absolutely taken out by the fact that his son had his eyes. Around those eyes were markings, somewhat like Hawks's, but not quite. He had to be the prettiest baby, and Dabi meant that objectively. Most babies looked kind of squishy, but Omelette had a perfect baby face. He had thick eyelashes that would make for some painfully puppy dog eyes that Dabi already felt weak to. His hair was dry now, and though it was a little sparse, Dabi could see that it was curly. Where did he get that? And our baby has pink hair, he said. It's like a strawberry blonde, Hawk said. Pink, Dabi insisted. Fine. Hawks agreed. Look, he doesn't have a belly button. What? Dabi lifted the towel on Omelette's belly and he, in fact, did not have a belly button. Huh. I mean, he hatched from an egg. Why would he have one? Hawks reasoned. I guess, Dabi said. Then he gasped. He has wings. He has wings? Hawks pulled the towel away from Omelette's back to reveal two tiny little nubby wings with tiny itty-bitty down white feathers. He pressed a hand to his forehead in disbelief. He has wings. Thankfully, Omelette took well to the bottle. Dabi held it carefully, horizontally, so that he didn't risk overfeeding him. We need to name him. Hawks groaned. Can we do that tomorrow or something? Dabi yawned. As excited as he was, the adrenaline was wearing off, and he was back on Hawks's bouncy mattress. We haven't had any luck so far. No, we're not sleeping until he has a name, Hawks insisted. Or else he'll just be Omelette his whole life. He's already going to be Omelette his whole life. Dabi deadpanned. But fine, where were we with Sora? Do you like that one? Hawks asked, sounding surprised. I didn't think you would. I think it suits him, Dabi said. Do you see those eyes? They're your eyes, Hawks said fondly. I like Sora, but... Oh my god, is any name good enough for you? Dabi groaned. It has to be good enough for our son, Hawks chuckled. And it feels like it's missing something. I don't understand you, Dabi said with an eye roll. But now was his chance. It was now or never. He cleared his throat. Not a name, but I still kind of want him to have Toru, like light in his name. Toru. Huh. Hawk said quietly. You suggested that a while ago, too. Where is it from? Well, he came this far. It's from my name, Dabi admitted. My old name. My real name. Hawk's mouth formed a perfect O. It's from your name. I mean, not exactly. I was thinking the simplified character for my old name. Dabi didn't look at Hawks, feeling vulnerable. Omelette had stopped drinking the formula, so Dabi adjusted him over his shoulder to burp him. He placed a towel over his shoulder, careful so that Omelette's delicate skin wouldn't catch on the staples. He began to pat his back gently, but he was so tiny he was almost afraid to. It can also be Akari or Hi, I guess. Hawks sat bolted up, startling both Dabi and Omelette, who spit up some formula on his shoulder. Nice. Hi! Hawks exclaimed. Dabi used the corner of the towel to blot Omelette's mouth. Yeah, what about it? I've always said I thought his name should start with Hi, Hawk said. Dabi's head shot around. You mean you want to use it? He asked in a hopeful disbelief. Yes, Hawks cheered. We can have one character. What do you think for a second? Hiborto? Hiro? Dabi stared out the window pensively. He hadn't realized how late, or early, it had gotten. He wasn't sure of the time, but outside, he could hear a lone bird singing. The sun must be rising soon, because the sky was full of milky dawn light, tinged pink. He huffed. It almost looked like Omelet's hair. Maybe they should name him Sunrise, or Dawn. Maybe they weren't on the wrong path with Sora. Wait. Hi, Sora, he said softly. Hawks paused in his brainstorming. Hi, Sora, he repeated. A smile boomed on his face. Hi, Sora. Is that it? Dabi asked. He bought Omelet. Hi, Sora, down from his shoulder, to look at him. He yawned widely, showing off his tiny, toothless gums adorably. Do you want to be Hi, Sora? He made a noise that sounded vaguely affirmative. Hawks laughed. It sounds like he likes it. Great. That's squared away. Let's sleep, Dabi said. Together they found diapers that fit Omelet. Hi, Sora. He really was so tiny. Dabi was kind of surprised that there were diapers that fit him. When Dabi returned from cleaning the spit up off himself, Hawks had swaddled on Hi, Sora in a bacon and eggs patterned blanket. Dabi watched with a light-feeling heart as Hawks rocked him back and forth and placed a gentle kiss on his forehead. Yeah, Dabi thought. This is love. This was love, and he loved it. He loved Hi, Sora. He loved Hawks. He loved the domestic shit. He loved being a dad. He squanted over and wrapped his arms around both Hawks and Baby. Hawks smiled and leaned up to press a kiss at the corner of Dabi's mouth. They had set up a bassinet for Hi, Sora, but they were both a little too obsessed with him to put him down just yet. He was sleeping, for now. Sitting up in the bed with Omelet in his arms, Hawks slumped against his side. Dabi was happy, plain and simple, content, impossibly light. It felt like he was missing something, but he couldn't identify what. Maybe missing was the wrong word. He felt like a weight had been lifted off him, like he had finally taken its bra off after a long day. He was pretty sure he'd never felt this happy before, but that was supposed to be pretty typical when becoming a new parent. It was something more, something deeper. Endeavor himself could appear right now, and Dabi wasn't sure if he would be able to work up any anger at him. Ah, he knew what it was. It wasn't something that was complex. It was something that most people felt after all the time. But for Dabi, it was monumental. Maybe even more than feeling love. Maybe more than feeling happy. Maybe more than feeling good things happening to himself. He'd just taken it for granted that he never felt this way, because he couldn't. He'd always thought it was a part of who he was. He glanced down at his baby again, at Hawks, fingers rubbing gentle circles around his belly, and yeah, there was no distributing it. You can't help but love the person that made you feel something other than hate. This was true, Dabi thought. But wasn't the full story. It was impossible for him to not love Hi, Sora, and he couldn't help but love Hawks. But it wasn't just that he felt something other than hate. In that moment, for the first time in a long time, as Dabi could remember, he didn't feel any hate at all. Alright, this has been a lengthy one. It was only 8 chapters, but I draw it out for 23? Yeah, 23 episodes. So I elongated it, okay? I elongated it. I probably could have cut that a little bit more. Like, I probably could have been at 20, 15 instead of, like, how many it was. But whatever. I don't give a shit. And I'm sure you guys probably don't care either. But yeah. The next series that I'm gonna do is So This Is Love by For Curious Dad. Yeah, I think that's what it says. For Curious Dad. It is a Todoroki x Sero fic, right? Some of the tags are alternate universe, slow burn, romance, mentioned Baku Squad, Todoroki Enji Bad Parenting, Sero Hanta Speaks Spanish, Oblivious Todoroki Shoto. Other additional tags to be added: mentioned Todoroki Family, Friends to Lovers, Fluff, mentioned 1B My Hero Academia. Minoru Mineta does not exist. Not beta read. Summary. Being a hero is the last thing Todoroki Shoto wanted, but meeting Sero Hanto, everything was about to change. An alternate universe where Todoroki Shoto chose to be a normal high schooler, and Sero Hanta went to UA. How Sero changed Todoroki's world, became his hero, and most importantly, his boyfriend. It is 20 chapters long, and it is 72,951 words long. So it is an average book length, right? So this is probably going to be like, you add up all the time, and it's probably going to be like 8-9 hours of content. So I'm most likely going to cut up each individual into parts. Probably like each individual chapter is going to be cut up into twos instead of doing like 25, 30, minute episodes. I'll switch it over to 10 to 15 as I've been doing before. It elongates the series. It gives me time to also find other series, and you guys get a little more umph, a little more, whatever. The first chapter, I'm probably going to do it completely together since it seems to be short. But yeah, it is. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the series. I know that Sero and Todoroki don't get as much love in Podfics, right? I haven't seen any Podfics of them like that, like full-on series, not just like one-shots and stuff. So I am glad to be able to do this. And I kind of want to bring one-shots back, but it's kind of hard because one-shots are, I don't know. I might bring them back for 5 p.m. time slot, PST. So yeah, that might be something that's coming up soon. I'll see how it works around with obviously my work schedule and stuff like that. Shit can be hard, shit can be difficult. So I'll see what happens. I'll see what I could do. Plus, my one issue with one-shots is the fact that it is so damn hard to find one-shots. Like, I would have to ask, like, in advance and have, like, a whole category and have, like, because, like, I would use it up every single day unless I cut up the one-shots into multiple parts. But for the most part, I think I'm just going to do one-shots when I want. So I think one-shots are probably going to be, like, the longest forms. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Anyways, I hope you guys really love this series, and I hope you guys stay for the next one that's coming. And as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.